Summer of the Beautiful White Horse by William Saroyan. Connect to your life. Family connections. Have you ever known a family of talented musicians or a great family of great cooks? Sometimes it seems that members of a family share similar talents or characteristics, such as shyness, a sense of humor, or an optimistic outlook. With a small group, discuss similarities in your families that you have known or read about that have common traits. Build background. Geography. This story is set in the San Joaquin Valley of California during the early 1900s when horses were an important means of transportation. Aram, the narrator, is Armenian. His family came from Armenia, a small country in the Caucasus Mountain region in Southwest Asia. Beginning in the early 1900s, thousands of Armenians immigrated to the United States. Many settled in the San Joaquin Valley, which resembled their homeland. The immigrants continued to grow grapes, olives, apricots, and figs, as they had done in Armenia, and maintain close family ties and strong feelings of nationality. Words to know. Vocabulary preview. Descendant, longing, magnificence, pious, vagrant.
Focus your reading. Most stories center on the experience and actions of one or more main characters. Often, the lesson the main character learns by the end of a story indicates the theme. Throughout the story, the motivations, experiences, and reactions of the main character act as clues to the theme. As you read this story, note Aram's motivations and the lessons he learns. Readers connect to a story when they compare their own experiences with those of the story's characters. Connecting helps readers understand the characters. It also helps readers gain insights into their own actions and feelings. In a chart like the one shown below, note descriptions, dialogue, and events in the story that remind you of your own experience. For example, the quote in the story, "The Summer of the Beautiful White Horse," is, "My earliest memories had been memories of horses, and my first longings have been longings to ride." My experience I could have written, "I have always loved animals, especially horses."
And now, The Summer of the Beautiful White Horse by William Saroyan. One day, back there in the good old days when I was 9 and the world was full of every imaginable kind of magnificence, and life was still a delightful and mysterious dream, my cousin Murad, who was considered crazy by everyone who knew him except me, came to my house at 4 a.m. and woke me up by tapping the window of my room.
"Aram!"
he said. I jumped out of my bed and looked out the window. I couldn't believe what I saw. It wasn't morning yet, but it was summer, and with a daybreak not many minutes around the corner of the world, it was light enough for me to know I wasn't dreaming. My cousin Murad was sitting on a beautiful white horse. I stuck my head out of the window and rubbed my eyes.
"Yes,"
he said in Armenian.
"It's a horse. You're not dreaming. Make it quick if you want to ride."
I knew my cousin Murad enjoyed being alive more than anybody else who had ever fallen into the world by mistake, but this was more than I could ever believe. In the first place, my earliest memories had been of horses, and my first longings had been longings to ride. This was the wonderful part. In the second place, we were poor. This was the part that wouldn't permit me to believe what I saw. We were poor. We had no money. Our whole tribe was poverty-stricken. Every branch of the Garagonian family was living in the most amazing and comical poverty in the world. Nobody could understand where we ever got enough money to keep us with food in our bellies, not even the old men of the family. Most important of all, though, we were famous for our honesty. We had been famous for our honesty for something like 11 centuries. Even when we had been the wealthiest family in what we liked to think was the world. We were proud first, honest next, and after that, we believed in right and wrong. None of us would take advantage of anybody in the world, let alone steal. Consequently, even though I could see the horse, so magnificent, even though I could smell it, so lovely, even though I could hear it breathing, so exciting, I couldn't believe the horse had anything to do with my cousin Murad or me or with any of the other members of our family, asleep or awake, because I knew my cousin Murad couldn't have bought the horse, and if he couldn't have bought it, he must have stolen it, and I refused to believe that he had stolen it. No member of the Garaglanian family could be a thief. I stared first at my cousin and then at the horse. There was a pious stillness and humor in each of them, which on the one hand delighted me, and on the other hand frightened me.
Murad,
I said,
where did you steal this horse?
Leap out
the window,
he said.
if you want to ride.
It was true then. He had stolen the horse. There was no question about it. He had come to invite me to ride or not, as I chose. Well, it seemed to me that stealing a horse for a ride was not the same thing as stealing something else, such as money. For all I knew, maybe it wasn't stealing at all. If you were crazy about horses the way my cousin Murad and I were, it wasn't stealing. It wouldn't become stealing until we offered to sell the horse, which of course I knew we would never do.
Let me put on some clothes,
I said.
All right,
He said.
but hurry.
I leapt into my clothes. I jumped down to the yard from the window and leaped up onto the horse behind my cousin Murad. That year we lived at the edge of town on Walnut Avenue. Behind our house was the country, vineyards, orchards, irrigation ditches, and country roads. In less than 3 minutes, we were on Olive Avenue, and then the horse began to trot. The air was new and lovely to breathe. The feel of the horse running was wonderful. My cousin Murad, who was considered one of the craziest members of our family, began to sing. He began to roar. Every family has a crazy streak in it somewhere, and my cousin Murad was considered the natural descendant of the crazy streak in our tribe. Before him was our cousin Cosgrove, an enormous man with a powerful head and a head of black hair and the largest mustache in the San Joaquin Valley. A man so furious in temper, so irritable, so impatient that he stopped anyone from talking by roaring, "It is no harm, pay no attention to it." That was all, no matter what anybody happened to be talking about. Once it was his own son, Iraq, running 8 blocks to the barber shop where his father was having his mustache trimmed, to tell him their house was on fire. This man, Cosgrove, sat up in the chair and roared,
It is no harm. Pay no attention to it.
The barber said,
But the boy says your house is on fire.
So Cosgrove roared,
Enough. It is no harm, I say.
My cousin Murad was considered a natural descendant of this man, although Murad's father was Zorab, who was practical and nothing else. That's how it was in our tribe. A man could be the father of his son's flesh, but that did not mean he was also the father of his spirit. The distribution of the various kinds of spirit in our tribe had been from the beginning capricious and vagrant. We rode and my cousin Murad sang. For all anybody knew, we were still in the old country, where, at least according to some of our neighbors, we belonged. We let the horse run as long as it felt like running. At last, my cousin Murad said,
"Get down. I want to ride alone." "Will you let me ride alone?"
I said.
"That is up to the horse,"
my cousin said.
"Get down. The horse will let me ride."
I said.
"We shall see,"
he said.
"Don't forget that I have a way with a horse." "Well,"
I said.
"any way you have with a horse, I have also. For the sake of your safety,"
he said.
"let us hope so. Get down." "All right,"
I said.
"But remember, you've got to let me try to ride alone."
I got down, and my cousin Murad kicked his heels into the horse and shouted,
"Vizier!"
"Run!" The horse stood on its hind legs, snorted, and burst into a fury of speed. That was the loveliest thing I had ever seen. My cousin Murad raced the horse across a field of dry grass into an irrigation ditch, crossed the ditch on the horse, and 5 minutes later returned dripping wet. The sun was coming up.
"Now it's my turn to ride."
I said. My cousin Murad got off the horse.
"Ride,"
he said. I leapt to the horse and leapt to the back of the horse, and for a minute knew the awfulest fear imaginable. The horse did not move.
"Kick into his muscles,"
my cousin Murad said.
"What are you waiting for? You got to take him back before everybody in the world is up and about."
I kicked into the muscles of the horse. Once again, it reared and snorted. Then it began to run. I didn't know what to do. Instead of running across the field to the irrigation ditch, the horse ran down the road to the vineyard of Dikran Halbian, where it began to leap over the vines. The horse leaped over 7 vines before I fell. Then it continued running. My cousin Murad came running down the road.
"I'm not worried about you,"
he shouted.
"We got to get that horse. You go this way, and I'll go this way. If you come upon him, be kindly. I'll be near."
I continued down the road, and my cousin Murad went across the field toward the irrigation ditch. It took him half an hour to find the horse and bring him back.
"All right,"
he said.
"Jump on. The whole world is awake now."
What
will we do?"
I said.
"Well,"
he said,
"we'll either take him back or hide him until tomorrow morning."
He didn't sound worried, and I knew he'd hide him and not take him back. Not for a while, at any rate.
"Where will we hide him?"
I said.
"I know a place."
He said.
"How long did you steal this horse? How long ago did you steal this horse?"
I said. It suddenly dawned on me that he had been taking these early morning rides for some time and had come for me this morning only because he knew how much I longed to ride.
"Who said anything about stealing a horse?"
He said.
"Anyhow,"
I said.
"how long ago did you begin riding every morning?" "Not until this morning."
He said.
"Are you telling the truth?"
I said.
"Of course not."
He said.
"But if we are found out, that's what you're to say. I don't want both of us to be liars. All you know is that we started riding this morning." "All right,"
I said. He walked the horse quietly to the barn of a deserted vineyard, which at one time had been the pride of a farmer named Fetvagen. There were some oats and dry alfalfa in the barn. We began walking home.
"It wasn't easy,"
he said,
"to get the horse to behave so nicely. At first it wanted to run wild, but as I've told you, I have a way with a horse. I can get it to do anything I want it to do. Horses understand me." "How did you do it?"
I said.
"I've had an understanding with a horse."
He said.
"Yes, but what sort of an understanding?"
I said.
"A simple and honest one."
He said.
"Well,"
I said.
"I wish I knew how to reach an understanding like that with a horse." "You're still a small boy.
He said.
When you get to be 13, you'll know how to do it."
I went home and ate a hearty breakfast. That afternoon, my Uncle Khosrow came to our house for coffee and cigarettes. He sat in the parlor, sipping and smoking and remembering the old country. Then another visitor arrived, a farmer named John Biro, an Assyrian. who out of loneliness had learned to speak Armenian. My mother brought the lonely visitor coffee, and then at last, sighing sadly, he said,
"My white horse, which was stolen last month, is still gone. I can't understand it."
My Uncle Cosgrove became very irritated and shouted,
"It's no harm. What is the loss of a horse? Haven't we all lost the homeland? What is this crying over a horse?" "That may be all right for you, a city dweller, to say,"
John Biro said.
"but what of my Surrey? What good is a Surrey without a horse? Pay no attention to it."
My Uncle Cosgrove roared.
"I walked 10 miles to get here."
John Biro said.
"You have legs."
My Uncle Cosgrove shouted.
"My left leg pains me."
The farmer said.
"Pay no attention to it."
My Uncle Cosgrove roared.
"That horse cost me $60.
The farmer said.
I spit on money."
My Uncle Cosgrove said. He got up and stalked out of the house, slamming the screen door. My mother explained.
"He has a gentle heart.
She said.
It is simply that he is homesick and such a large man."
The farmer went away and I ran over to my cousin Murad's house. He was sitting under a peach tree, trying to repair the hurt wing of a young robin which could not fly. He was talking to the bird.
"What is it?"
He said.
"The farmer, John Biro?
I said.
He visited our house. He wants his horse. You've had it for a month. I want you to promise not to take it back until I learn to ride. It will take you a year to learn to ride."
My cousin Murad said.
"We could keep the horse a year."
I said. My cousin Murad leapt to his feet.
"What?
He roared.
Are you inviting a member of the Garganelian family to steal? The horse must go back to its true owner." "When?"
I said.
"In 6 months at the latest."
He said. He threw the bird into the air. The bird tried hard, almost fell twice, but at last flew away, high and straight. Early every morning for 2 weeks, my cousin Murad and I took the horse out of the barn of the deserted vineyard where we were hiding it and rode every morning, and every morning the horse, let me try that again. Early every morning for 2 weeks, my cousin Murad and I took the horse out of the barn of the deserted vineyard where we were hiding it and rode it. And every morning the horse, when it was my turn to ride alone, leapt over grapevines and small trees and threw me and ran away. Nevertheless, I hoped in time to learn to ride the way my cousin Murad rode. One morning, on the way to Fetfajan's deserted vineyard, we ran into the farmer, John Biro, who was on the way to town.
"Let me do the talking."
My cousin Murad said.
"I have a way with farmers." "Good morning, John Biro."
My cousin Murad said to the farmer. The farmer studied the horse eagerly.
"Good morning, sons of my friends."
He said.
"What is the name of your horse?" "My Heart."
My cousin Murad said in Armenian.
"A lovely name,"
John Biro said.
"for a lovely horse. I swear it is the horse that was stolen from me many weeks ago. May I look into its mouth?" "Of course,"
Murad said. The farmer looked into the mouth of the horse.
"Tooth for tooth,"
he said.
"I would swear it's my horse if I didn't know your parents. The fame of your family for honesty is well known to me. Yet the horse is the twin of my horse. A suspicious man would believe his eyes instead of his heart. Good day, my young friends." "Good day, John Biro,"
my cousin Murad said. Early the following morning, we took the horse to John Biro's vineyard and put it in the barn. The dogs followed us around without making a sound.
"The dogs,"
I whispered to my cousin Murad.
"I thought they would bark." "They would at somebody else,"
he said.
"I have a way with the dogs."
My cousin Murad put his arms around the horse, pressed his nose into the horse's nose, patted it, and then we went away. That afternoon, John Biro came to our house in his surrey and showed my mother the horse had been stolen and returned.
I don't know what to think.
He said,
The horse is stronger than ever. Better tempered, too. Oh, I thank God.
My Uncle Cosgrove, who was in the parlor, became irritated and shouted,
Quiet, man, quiet. Your horse has been returned. Pay no attention to it.
And that is the end of The Summer of the Beautiful White Horse. What do you think? What are your thoughts about the adventures of Aram and Marad? How did Marad get a horse? For what trait was the Gargolian family known? Why did the boys return the horse?
Can we talk about the paintings that are in this story?
Sure.
What do you think of the white pacing Mustang, the oil on canvas from 1949 on page 840? What strikes you the most?
Well, obviously this big, beautiful horse is right front and center of this painting.
Yeah.
And he's in movement, he's alive, he's healthy, the wind is blowing his hair, he's free.
I'm really drawn to his eyes. Like there's something in his eyes that's like, is he wild? Is he tamed? He doesn't have a saddle on, so I don't know if he's rideable. But there's something about him that makes me want to jump on. I don't know how long I would last.
He might fall off.
Right?
Also, it looks like perhaps there's a big storm coming. So that stormy weather, or I don't know, he just looks so free to me. That's the thing that I see the most. You've got this horizon, and you can see as far as your eye can go in the distance, and there's nothing else around.
And I can't tell if he's, I don't know whether this horse is running to something or away from something. Can you, I don't know if you can tell. Almost looks like coming up a hill, maybe?
Could be. He's got all this light shining on him, and then the darkness is in the background. So I would almost guess he's running to better weather.
I wonder how long it took Tom Lee to paint that. I also wanted to look at the other picture that's on page 845. Is this the scene that you would have chosen to pick for the boys riding in the fields, like irrigation ditch? Is that what you had in your mind?
It's not, but it's definitely similar. I mean, you could imagine that this could be a vineyard country, farm country, definitely a little small village in the background there, that middle distance.
And when I picture somebody running or riding a horse, I don't tend to picture like forest areas like we have around here. I tend to think more open land. And I'm glad to know that it wasn't like, desert land like maybe I've seen in too many movies. But I definitely get the sense that there is farming vegetation here. And I really like the sky. And it's certainly different from the sky of the previous painting. And I wonder if the editors of this book did that on purpose.
Ooh, I bet, because with the horse, they came in the middle of the night. And so the sun was just coming up. And so in this one, the sun is definitely coming up.
And then, if we're going to get deep here, I wonder if the painting of the horse matches kind of the mood and attitude of the cousin, and the painting and the picture and the coloring of the one on page 845, the oil on canvas, is more about the narrator and more about how he is as a person.
Could be. There was also some symbolism. I don't know if you caught this, kind of trailing on that. The part about Marad with the bird, he's talking to the bird and he wants to heal it, but then he throws it up. So it's like he's got this kind of nice streak going on, but it's just not quite there. Most people would set a bird down if it was injured and let it go. Kind of like with the horse. if a horse was lost, most people would bring it back.
Mm-hmm. And keeping with the honesty, at the end, I had to look back, but neither boy lied.
Right.
And the farmer, though, I think gave them an out.
Yeah, the farmer
I'm sure
gave
you
him
guys
an
will
out.
talk about this, but it's like, wow, this horse looks like mine. And instead of him accusing them of stealing, you guys have a nice day.
Yep.
I know you'll do the right thing. This was a great story.
It's a great story. I love it.
Thank you for sharing this.
All right.
Enjoy.